So today we'll be speaking from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi-lila, chapter 13, verses 83 to 86. So please recite after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So reading from Adi-lila, chapter 13, verse 83, we'll be reciting today. Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare, Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare, Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare, Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare. Prabhus?
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
Divya murta loka sabha yena stuti kare,
Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare.
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare,
Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare.
Sachi kahe muni dekho akasha upare,
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
Divya murti loka sabha ena stuti kare,
Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare.
साची काहे मुनि देखो आकाशा उपारे,
Sachi kahe muni dekhon akasha upare,
दिव्य मूर्ति लोक सभा येना स्तुतिकारे,
Divya murti loka sabha yena stuti kare. Sachi kahe. Mother Sachi Devi replied, Muni, I, Dekho, see, Akasha upare, in outer space, Divya Murti, brilliant forms, Loka, people, Sabha, all, Yena, as if, Stuti, prayers, Kare, offering. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sachi Mata told her husband, I also see wonderfully brilliant human beings appearing in outer space, as if offering prayers. Please repeat. Sachi Mata told her husband, I also see wonderfully brilliant human beings appearing in outer space, as if offering prayers. Purport. Jagannath Mishra was honored by everyone on the earth and was supplied with all necessities. Similarly, Mother Sachi saw many demigods in outer space offering prayers to her because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presence in her womb. So, just to bring us all up to the same point, so this chapter 13 is titled The Advent of Lord Chaitanya, and what's happening now is Jagannath Mishra, Lord Chaitanya's father, has said to his wife in the verse before, he said to her that I'm going here around the place and everybody, they are really offering me lots of respect. I'm not asking, but they are giving me lots of riches, lots of charity. So he was being honored and respected. So he's saying this to Mother Sachi, and in response, Mother Sachi is saying to him, yes, I have also seen that they are very beautiful, brilliantly effulgent human beings in the sky, in outer space, and they are offering me prayers. And so this is happening because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present in Mother Sachi's womb. So this is why the parents were automatically being offered by all the living entities this much respect, just automatically. It just happened without people knowing why, and without Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra realizing exactly why. So text 84, Jagannatha Mishra kahe swapna ye dekhila, Jyotirmaya dhama mora hirdaya pasila. Jagannath Mishra then replied, so they are having a conversation, Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra, that in a dream I saw the effulgent abode of the Lord enter my heart. So this is what they are talking. And after saying that I'm being respected by the human beings on earth, everybody is offering me gifts and charity, and Mother Sachi is saying, yes, people in outer space, they're wonderfully shining, they are offering me prayers. Then Jagannath Mishra has said that, well, in a dream I saw the effulgent abode of the Lord enter my heart. So he saw the spiritual world, the spiritual kingdom, which is Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Chaitanya resides and also Lord Krishna resides. So he saw this beautifully shining, effulgent abode of the Lord enter his heart. Then text 85, Amara hirdaya haite gela tomara hirdaya, hena puji janmi bena kona mahashaya. From my heart it entered your heart. I therefore understand that a great personality will soon take birth. So this is what Jagannath Mishra is describing, that he saw this dream, and in the dream this the spiritual abode entered his heart, and then in his dream the spiritual abode from his heart went into Mother Sachi's heart, and that the feeling that he was left with is that there is going to be a great personality appearing and taking birth in this world very soon. So text 86, which has got a long purport. So text 86 is Etabali dunyeraha harasita hana shalagrama seva kare vishesha kariya. After this conversation, both husband and wife were very jubilant, and together they rendered service to the household Shaligram Shila. So both Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata felt very happy after understanding what was happening, and together they did service to their household Shaligram Shila. So now we'll move into this purport of text 86, which is long. So what I'll do is, as I go, we will break it up and talk a little bit on some points. So this is Srila Prabhupada writing. And he is saying that in every Brahmana's house there must be a Shaligram Shila to be worshipped by the Brahmana family. This system is still current. People who are Brahmanas by caste, who are born in a Brahmana family, must worship the Shaligram Shila. Unfortunately, within the progress of Kali Yuga, the so-called Brahmanas, although very proud of taking birth in the Brahmana families, no longer worship the Shaligram Shila. But actually it has been a custom since time immemorial that a person born in a Brahman family must worship the Shaligram Shila in all circumstances. So this is what the system was, that Brahmanas who were born in Brahmana families, they had a family Shaligram Shila which was passed on through the generations. And through the generations, the family would worship the Shaligram Shila. So even in our scriptures we have seen stories of some families not worshipping their Shaligram Shilas correctly and not realizing the significance of it, even though they have been in the same caste Brahmana family, they're born in the same family. And for example, there's that famous story of one family using Shaligram Shila as their doorstopper. And when Sanatan Goswami, he went by, or one of the 6 Goswamis, and he said, no, that is not meant to be used as a nutcracker or a doorstopper. It's a Shaligram Shila. It's meant to be used as on the altar, revered and worshipped with awe and reverence. So people basically, even though they were born, this was happening in the Brahmin families, they were losing interest and losing the philosophy and not really worshipping properly. So, and this system is still current. Like another example is, for example, Lord Chaitanya's Advaita Acharya's Shaligram Shila. You might have seen pictures of his Shaligram Shila. This is the Shila he worshipped to invoke the presence of Lord Chaitanya here. And he was worshipping the Shaligram Shila on the bank of the river Ganges with tulsi water, tulsi leaves and Ganges water. And this Shaligram Shila has been passed down through the families, through Advaita Acharya's family line, and it's now still being worshipped. And if you go to Indradyumna Swami's page, you'll see some pictures. One time he went to that temple and the pujari there blessed him by placing the Shaligram Shila on his head, and he even got to hold the Shaligram Shila that Advaita Acharya worshipped. So this is like how it's going on. The Shaligram Shilas were being worshipped and are still worshipped in the family lineage. So in our Krishna consciousness society, some of the members are very anxious to introduce the Shaligram Shila. But we have purposely refrained from introducing it because most of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement do not originally come from families of the Brahmana caste. After some time, when we find that they are actually situated strictly in the line of Brahminical behavior, this Shaligram Shila will be introduced. So this was what Prabhupada wanted, that people become qualified, that anybody can become qualified, and by qualifying ourselves to Brahminical standards, which means following the 4 principles strictly, chanting our rounds, full allotted number every day, and also by maintaining purity and punctuality, that by doing all of these things, being Brahminical, and in the Bhagavad Gita is described the qualities of a Brahmana. So becoming qualified like that, getting those qualifications as a Brahmana, Prabhupada had his plan to introduce Shaligram Shila worship in ISKCON. And quite a few temples, for example the Vrindavan Krishna Balram temple, they have Shaligram Shilas on their Radha Shyam Sundar altar, and other temples in the world, they also have Shaligram Shila worship now because they are qualified Brahmanas there. So at this point I will take the liberty to say that I also am a pujari and I worship on this altar, and our beautiful Giriraj there, he is worshipped with all the like all the 64 items and all of that as Shaligram worship. So I've said before to our head pujari that we should start Shaligram worship here too, but Krishna has his plans, and there are lots of qualified Brahmanas here at New Govardhan, both in the temple and out in the congregation. So there are many qualified Brahmanas here now. So this is what Prabhupada wanted, that once people got qualified and situated strictly within the line of Brahminical behavior, this Shaligram Shila will be introduced. In this age, the worship of the Shaligram Shila is not as important as the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. This is the injunction of the Shastra. Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nastayeva, Nastayeva, Gatir Anyatha. Srila Jiva Goswami's opinion is that by chanting the holy name offenselessly, one becomes completely perfect. Nevertheless, just to purify the situation of the mind, worship of the deity in the temple is also necessary. Therefore, when one is advanced in spiritual consciousness or is perfectly situated on a spiritual platform, he may take to the worship of the Shaligram Shila. So, in Kali Yuga, what is the most important thing? Chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Chanting, and that by doing this chanting offenselessly, which every morning straight after Mangalati we recite the 10 offenses against the holy name. So by avoiding those 10 offenses, by chanting without those offenses, that we can become perfect. We will become perfect, completely perfect. And then, so if that's the case, why do we still do deity worship? So the answer to that is that it keeps us regulated. And how so? In that, for deity worship, purity is very important. Prabhupada stressed purity and punctuality for deity worship as the two most important things. And punctuality, meaning to say, would mean that if you're going to worship the deities the next morning, you have to get to bed on time. You have to make sure that you've done everything you need to do, get to bed on time, wake up on time, have a shower, put on tilak, come to the deity department in the right consciousness. And so and so that regulates. And imagine if you're doing that 2 or 3 times a week, or as Gokul Prabhu, he does it about 7 days a week. He does deity worship 7 days a week. So keeping yourself regulated is really important. So it's described in other places that it's like the warp and the weft of a cloth. So in a cloth, you have threads running this way and you've got threads running this way, longitudinally, horizontally and vertically. So to make the cloth, you need both, like that. Right? Otherwise it's just going to fall to pieces. So in the same way, it's described that this Pancharatrik Vidhi and this Bhagavad Vidhi, which is chanting, reading the holy name, and deity worship, which is Pancharatrik Vidhi, on the other hand, they are like the warp and weft of a cloth, and they need to be done together so as to keep ourselves regulated and to purify the consciousness. And also, Bhagavad Vidhi must keep going on and is actually more important, much more important than Pancharatrik Vidhi in this day and age. But the reason deity worship is done is to purify the situation of the mind, therefore it is necessary. And when one is perfectly situated on a spiritual platform, he may take to the worship of the Shaligram Shila. So why Shaligram Shila worship is really restricted is because because he is Vishnu himself, as are all the deity forms, but there are certain rules for Shaligram worship, and the consequences of not doing it exactly correctly are quite serious. So this is why it is so protected and restrained from just being done like that. So one of the things are, for example, that a Shaligram Shila must never be bought. That's one of the rules. Another is that you shouldn't ever worship 3 together. Because if you worship 3, then insanity can happen. So you can worship any other number but 3. Another is that you should only worship in clean clothes after having a shower, in completely clean clothes, without having eaten or drunk, and also before midday. So these are some of the rules for Shaligram worship, and if it is done wrongly, then insanity is one of the consequences that can arise. So this is why it is so protected. The transferring of the Lord from the heart of Jagannath Mishra to the heart of Sachi Mata is explained by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as follows. It is to be concluded that Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata are Nitya Siddhas, ever purified associates of the Lord. Their hearts are always uncontaminated, and therefore they never forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man in this material world has a contaminated heart. He must therefore first purify his heart to come to the transcendental position. But Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata were not a common man and woman with contaminated hearts. When the heart is uncontaminated, it is said to be in the existential position of Vasudev. Vasudev can beget Vasudev or Krishna, who is transcendentally situated. So one might ask, how come Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra, they were in this world, they were human beings, how were they able to conceive the Lord? So as we have read, it's an immaculate conception. And can somebody say another place that they have heard or read of an immaculate conception? Jesus, yes. Anyone else? Any other example we can think of? Yes. Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna's appearance was identical. Krishna also, first it was like this, it was described that same way. Vasudeva had a dream and then he saw the personality getting transferred to Devaki's heart and then to her womb. And also it is described that Devaki was very fulgent, and same way it is described that Mother Sachi is very fulgent. And so one might ask, how come they are able to conceive the Lord when they are here as human beings? So we must remember that they are Nitya Siddhas. Nitya Siddha means they are eternally perfect. Nitya means eternal, Siddha means perfect. They're eternally perfect. They are associates of the Lord who have come down from Goloka Vrindavan because the Lord has arranged them to come. So remember, when the Lord appears, he brings with him his abode, his associates, his paraphernalia, because he wants it to be all set up and his pastimes to happen nicely. So these parents of the Lord were eternally liberated beings, unlike us jiva souls who need to purify ourselves. So they were not common men and women, and the existential position of Vasudeva, meaning to say that this is going really deep, but I'll just say it really quickly. So Krishna's form is, and Lord Chaitanya's form is Satchid Ananda, which means their forms are full of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And so this is, and that Krishna's form in particular, that Krishna is in the eternity, the existential potency. So in that same, so this is what is being explained here, that Jagannath Mishra was in the same position of the same time or existential position of Vasudeva, so he could have Vasudeva or Krishna as his son. It is to be understood that Sachi Devi did not become pregnant as an ordinary woman becomes pregnant because of sense indulgence. One should not think the pregnancy of Sachi Mata to be that of an ordinary woman, because that is an offense. One can understand the pregnancy of Sachi Mata when one is actually advanced in spiritual consciousness and fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So this is the answer being given here. If we are not able to understand these spiritual truths, then what are we to be doing? We are needing to purify ourselves, and how we do that is just by engaging in devotional service. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-16, it is stated, Bhagwan api Vishwatma Bhaktanam Abhayankara Aviveshama Bhagena Mana Anaka Dundubheya. This is a statement regarding the birth of Lord Krishna. The incarnation of the Lord entered the mind of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the mind of Devaki. Srila Sridhar Swami gives the following annotation in this connection. There was no question of the seminal discharge necessary for the birth of an ordinary human being. So this is what Srila Sridhar Swami is saying. Mano avivesha, manasi bhava bhuva jivanam eva na dhatu sambandha iti artatha. That there was no question of seminal discharge. Srila Rupa Goswami also comments in this connection that Lord Krishna first appeared in the mind of Anakadundubi Vasudeva and was then transferred to the mind of Devaki Devi. Thus the spiritual bliss in the mind of Devaki gradually increased, just as the moon increases every night until it becomes a full moon. At the time of his appearance, Lord Krishna came out of the mind of Devaki and appeared within the prison house of Kamsa by the side of Devaki's bed. At that time, by the spell of Yogamaya, Devaki thought that the child had now been born. In this connection, even the demigods from the celestial kingdom were also bewildered. As is stated, Muyanti yat Suryaha in the Bhagavatam 1.1.1. They came to offer their prayers to Devaki, thinking that the Supreme Lord was within her womb. The demigods came to Mathura from their celestial kingdom. This indicates that Mathura is still more prominent than the celestial kingdom of the upper planetary system. So we talked about this a little already, that this is exactly how Krishna appeared. And just as how it is now being described, Lord Chaitanya has appeared. And also, important point to note that Mathura is superior than heaven, because the demigods were coming to Mathura. And Mathura is the spiritual world because the Lord appeared there. Lord Krishna, as the eternal son of Yashodamai, is always present in Vrindavan. The pastimes of Lord Krishna are continuously going on both within this material world and the spiritual world. In such pastimes, the Lord always thinks himself the eternal son of Mother Yashoda and Father Nanda Maharaj. In the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, verse 43, it is stated, when magnanimous, broad-hearted Nand Maharaj came back from a tour, he immediately took his son Krishna on his lap and experienced transcendental bliss by smelling his head. Similarly, in the 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse 21, it is said, this personality of Godhead, appearing as the son of a cowherd damsel, is easily available and understandable to devotees, whereas those who are under the concept of bodily life, even though they are very advanced in austerity and penance, or even though they are great philosophers, are unable to understand him. So what is being explained here is that Krishna is always present in Vrindavan, and that Krishna's pastimes and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, they are always happening in the dhams. So that's why it is said, when you go to the dham, you shouldn't see it with material eyes. Shouldn't look at, shouldn't focus on. You can look at and you can put in perspective that yes, this is dirty, or oh, look at all the open sewers, or look at all the animals on the streets. Yes, you can look at it, but that is just an external covering. Internally, the dham reveals itself to people who have the right mood. And that in the dhams, both in this world and obviously in the spiritual worlds, the Lord's pastimes are happening eternally. The pastimes are going on. And that, so then it is explained Nand Maharaj's paternal emotions, that when he used to come home from traveling away, he would take his child Krishna on his lap and he would cuddle him and kiss him and he would smell his head. And as a mom, I can say that I do this too. But I don't know if you've been a parent, you've probably done this too. So this is what Nand Maharaj used to do. And that Krishna is very, very difficult to understand for those who think themselves of being the body, that those who are trapped in the bodily conception of life, they are not able to understand Krishna. Even if they are very advanced and doing a lot of austerity and great philosophers, they are not able to understand Krishna. So the way to understand Krishna is by devotional service. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur next quotes Shripad Baladev Vidyabhushana, who refers to the prayers offered by the demigods to Lord Krishna in the womb of Devaki and summarizes the birth of Krishna as follows. As the rising moon manifests light in the east, so Devaki, who was always situated on the transcendental platform, having been initiated in the Krishna mantra by Vasudeva, the son of Surasena, kept Krishna within her heart. From this statement of the Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Verse 18, it is understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having been transferred from the heart of Anaka Dundubi or Vasudeva, manifested himself in the heart of Devaki. According to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, the heart of Devaki means the womb of Devaki, because in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Verse 41, the demigods say, Mother Devaki, the Lord is already within your womb. Therefore, the Lord was transferred from the heart of Vasudeva to the heart of Devaki, means that he was transferred to the womb of Devaki. Similarly, in regard to the appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as described in the Caitanya Caritamrita, the words Visheshe Sevana Kare Govinda Charan, they specifically began to worship the lotus feet of Govinda, indicate that exactly as Krishna appeared in the heart of Devaki through the heart of Vasudeva, so Lord Chaitanya appeared in the heart of Sachi Devi through the heart of Jagannath Mishra. This is the mystery of the appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, one should not think of Lord Chaitanya's appearance as that of a common man or living entity. This subject matter is a little difficult to understand, but for devotees of the Lord, it will not be at all difficult to realize the statements given by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. So, what Prabhupada is putting together in this purport is that he is explaining what the author of this book, the Caitanya Caritamrita, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, he is explaining those statements, and also he has put together quotes from quite a few previous acharyas, from his own spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, and also from other previous acharyas, and he is quoting all the different sources of evidence from the various scriptures as to how Krishna's appearance is transcendental, and how it was an immaculate conception, and how Lord Chaitanya's appearance and conception is also transcendental, and how it actually happened spiritually. So, and then he's saying that it is, it might be a bit difficult to understand, but that for devotees it won't be hard to understand these statements given by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. So, okay, so I'll just go back to the beginning of the purport, and one important thing that I didn't mention about deity worship, about purity in the deity worship service, is that so regularity and regulating the mind was being described, that deity worship does this, it regulates the mind. And one of the important ways it does so is that by having a relationship, an intimate relationship, what happens is, and by having bodily relations, so by having sexual intercourse, what happens is one gets more and more bound to the bodily conception of life. One begins to, it's called Hridaya Granthim, that a knot happens in the heart, that one begins to identify as being the body, that I am male, I can, therefore can give pleasure to a female, or I'm female, I can therefore attract a male. So it kind of comes all to the bodily platform. So for this reason, to dissociate ourselves from this bodily identification and realize that we are the soul, regularity in our bodily relations. Therefore, we have the principle, no illicit sex. So when one comes, so this is what is meant by regulating the senses, purifying the mind, is that so when one comes to actually do deity worship, there should not have been intimate connection for a certain number of days before coming to the altar to worship Krishna. And one of the reasons, the main reason for that, it regulates the senses and keeps the bodily identification to a minimum, and also that there is purity, internal purity, and that by doing so we are realizing that we are the spirit souls and not this body, that this body is actually meant to be serving the Lord. So that is one of the main ways in which purity. So like one might really question, how is deity worship regulating oneself? So it's not just coming and doing your service and going away, it's actually the whole preparation behind it as well. So this is how deity worship regulates. And also, recapping on a few important points, is that when the Lord appears on this earth planet, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Jesus, they all came through Immaculate Conception. So this is how to understand it would be understanding through the eyes of scripture and understanding through the example of previous acharyas. And the details we have talked about, how the demigods were coming to worship both Devaki and Mother Sachi, and how they were glowing, they were so effulgent, and that it happened in this way that Vasudev and Jagannath Mishra, they had a dream, and then in this dream the abode of the Lord manifested in their heart and then went to the heart of their spouse. So, does anybody have any questions or any comments or anything additional they would like to say? So we've just celebrated Gaura Purnima, that's the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, quite recently, and it's the festivals are really nice. There's a lot of singing and dancing and really nice prasadam and a lot of socializing and lots of colors, but it's really important to know the philosophy behind it. And also, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is Prabhupada's spiritual master, he would say to his disciples, tomorrow we'll have a big festival, we'll have a really big festival. And then the disciples will say, but Gurudev, where will everything come from to prepare for the festival, like the prasadam and the decorations and everything? And he will say, our festival will be feasting and chanting. So he really focused on the depth and the pastimes and understanding about it. So when we know the depth of the philosophy and the pastimes, and when we look on the altar, then the realizations are deep and the connection is deep. We've developed relationships, and that's what keeps us. That's what keeps us in spiritual life then. Okay. Did somebody have something to say?
Krishna, I guess it's more of a reflection than a question, but it's just if you think about when humans or animals conceive, the semen carries a soul, and then the mother provides a body for that soul to develop a body. But I guess in what we're hearing here is Krishna fully appears in the mind and the hearts of the parents, and he doesn't need a material body because he's just, that's it. There's nothing else. It's not like the mothers have to even provide a body for him as well. He just manifests 100% without any of the rest of the activities that normally go on. Is that correct?
Yes. So I hope everybody heard that. I'll repeat it for those who didn't manage to get it all. So Prabhu is reflecting that when we come in this world, that the father discharges semen in the womb of the mother, and only one of the sperm actually makes it and then fuses with an egg, and that the mother's body then acts as an incubator and provides the flesh and the blood to grow a baby, to grow a material body in the womb of the mother. That this is what happens. And actually, okay, I'll finish Prabhu's reflection first, so then I'll add something I want to say too. And that a human being is then born with a material body comprised of earth, air, water, fire, ether, and blood and flesh and muscles and all of that. Whereas Krishna's body is spiritual, completely spiritual. Lord Chaitanya's body is completely spiritual, that he just appeared. He just appeared in the mind of his father, was then transferred to the mind and the heart of his mother, mind, heart, and by extension womb of his mother, and that he was there the full time, and he didn't need the body to be made in stages as the human body is made. So this is Prabhu's reflection, that the Lord is Purnam, complete. He comes completely. And what I want to add to that is that in some places it's described that who does this body belong to? This body, does it belong to you? This body that I'm in, does it belong to me? And it's described, no, not really. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your mother, because your mother provided the flesh, bones, all of that, to actually give you the body. And then it's further described that it doesn't belong to you. It actually belongs to the Divine Mother, Durga Devi, the mother of this material world, because she provided all the elements to then have this body come. And then it's described it also belongs to your spiritual master. Your spiritual master, you pledge your life, your mind, your words, your body to your spiritual master to serve in the mission of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. So it's described like that about the body, who the body belongs to. So knowing this, and ultimately we are the servant of Krishna. So this is what the body is meant to be used for, to serve the Lord. Okay. Anyone else would like to say anything?
Yes. Recently I was thinking, sometimes we like to think that despite...
Wait. The mother's going to repeat it anyway. The body's mine. But just like if I'm renting an apartment, the landlord can force me out of that apartment any time that suits. So similarly, I can be forced out of this body at any time. Doesn't matter when I decide the right time or not, isn't it? Yes. It can be at any moment we can leave this body. So it sort of indicates it's not really ours.
Yes. So thank you very much, Prabhu. So what Prabhu is, like, everybody heard that, right? That just like one rents an apartment and the landlord can evict you at any time, so we are actually the person in the apartment, that's the soul, and this body is the apartment, and that we can be asked to leave the body at any time. If Krishna wants, he can take us at any time. So that indicates that the body isn't really me. So that's one way. I had a profound thought when you were saying that, and now I can't think of what I was going to say. But that's the truth of it. So that's what we call dualism, that there's a body and there's the soul. Dualism, there's two different things. One is material, one is spiritual. I remember what I wanted to say. So you said that something that about the body, that we think the body is Maya, you were saying. So some people think...
You're thinking the body is mine.
Oh, it's mine, not Maya. Yeah. Okay, yes. So that's how we shouldn't think that the body is mine. But also, we do think that the body is Maya sometimes, and we think, this material body like that. But actually, it's the greatest vessel. So we need to appreciate it. It's the greatest vessel on this planet, and this is the greatest vessel we have of actually making it back to Godhead. So compared to any other body type on this planet. The reason for that is we've got this special thing called intelligence, which the other species have too, but not to the extent that the human body has. I'll give you a little example. So like a car can't go out into outer space, but a rocket can. So same way, like the rocket has this special, extra machine or engines or extra fuel tanks and the extra velocity to carry it into outer space. So this human body has that extra intelligence, and that intelligence is what we then choose with. We choose with that intelligence that yes, today I'm going to fast because it's the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. Today I'm going to use my tongue in chanting. I'm going to use my body in serving the Lord. So this body is the greatest vessel that we have. So this is why it said this human form of life is very, very rare, and it only comes about after 8,400,000 species of life, and that's confirmed by that gecko. That's a spiritual thing, like a Vedic thing, that if you're saying something and there's a sound, it's like, yes, that's confirmed. So it's also described that if, like an iron rod is like cold and dull and heavy, but if you put that iron rod in fire, it becomes completely like glowing. It becomes capable of putting on a fire as well. So an iron rod becomes of the same potency as a fire. So this body can become spiritualized if we use it spiritually, and it can become liberating rather than being seen as Maya. So this is why ladies should not be seen as Maya, or men shouldn't be seen as Maya either. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for listening. Jai Prabhupada. Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Gauranitai Bhagwan ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.